Okay, good evening and welcome to this session. And I'm very happy that after 2 weeks approximately, so we met again here. So welcome to this session. Now, as you can see that today we are going to have some idea about, I mean, becoming an active listener. And as you know that listening is one of the important skills, but uh, in most cases you can find it that it is not treated like other skills like reading, writing, and also speaking. So basically, we focus on reading, writing, and speaking, but listening as a skill actually it is ignored. So today we are going to focus on it, that how actually we can become an active listener, especially in our in any kind of working environment, especially in our offices, in our working places, and also in our family life, also in our society, in different kinds of social interaction. Everywhere you can find the importance of, active listening. But as I said, that unfortunately we don't give that much importance on listening. So today we will see that what is active listening. We'll try to delve into this, that what is active listening. Okay, so now let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so I will play an audio to you. It's a podcast that I collected from online. So you will listen to that podcast and then you will tell me that what are the things actually they are talking about. Okay, after listening to that thing. But before we listen, I have planned it in a different way. So I'm going to read you a text, an article rather, I should say, from a newspaper. It's from today's Daily Star. So I will be reading it to you. And after I finish, reading the text, I'll be asking you some questions. So I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
So I'm just going to test you that how much, how active actually you are going to find yourself when actually you're reading. So whether you're active listeners or not, so I'm going to take a look into that matter. So the title, so listen to everything. The title of the article is from the Daily Star, today's Daily Star. So the title of this text, or you can say this newspaper article, is Use of Antibiotics Rampant, Careless. The finds study on 10 COVID and non-COVID hospitals. Okay, so it's been done on different COVID hospitals. So there, antibiotics are, the use of antibiotics is very rampant. That means it's very, you can say sporadic, or you can say very recklessly, actually, these antibiotics, it's been used in the hospitals. So here goes the text. And Muhammad Ahmed Shujan, actually, he is the writer of this text. Now, here you see, here's the reporter. Now, I'm going to read it. This is the intro. A study has revealed that costly antibiotics are being prescribed injudiciously for treating COVID patients at hospitals. It could lessen effectiveness of the life-saving drugs in killing bacteria. Such irrational use of antibiotics is also putting unnecessary financial burden on patients, said researchers involved in the study. The Institute of Epidemiology, Disease Control and Research, IEDCR, and the American Society of Microbiology, ASM, jointly conducted this study at 5 COVID and 5 non-COVID hospitals in the capital, Chattogram, Rajshahi, and Sylhet. Of the hospitals, 5 are state-run and 5 private. Data was collected from May 1st to July 30 this year for the study titled Antibiotic Usage and Antimicrobial Resistance in Tertiary Care Hospitals of Bangladesh. Bacteria-fighting drugs known as antibiotics have been helping control and destroy many of the harmful organisms that can make one sick. But in recent times, overuse and misuse of antibiotics led some strains of bacteria to make small changes in their DNA and become antibiotic resistant superbugs, according to health experts. This happens mainly due to injudicious use of antibiotic drugs, they said. Okay, so it's a long report, but I'm not going to read it. I mean the whole essay or whole report. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. First 6 paragraphs. You can say that I have read it to you. So now, who can summarize it? Can anyone give me the basic idea that whatever actually have listened to, whatever you can remember, you can recall? Just the very basic. Can you? Is it possible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Rafi, would you like to give it a try? Do you like to try it first?
Sure, sir.
Okay, please, go ahead.
Basically, it says that we are going through the COVID situation,
Yes.
and so many hospitals in international or national hospitals are trying to fight it, and they are going to sometimes examine medicine on human body. So
Yes.
when they put the antibiotic, which is a very important thing to fight for the virus, when they put the antibiotic on the human body, so some antibiotics are not working, but the virus are collecting the virus are collecting some.
Actually, those viruses are, I mean, they're getting stronger.
Yeah, they're getting strong, so they make their DNA more stronger.
Exactly.
And
Okay.
make themselves a shell with the antibiotic, help of antibiotic, and they are become more stronger.
They're becoming stronger. Yes. Yes, they're becoming stronger. Okay, Mr. Arshad, so what's your take on it? So could you tell us something about this text? All
Sorry,
these
sir,
paragraphs?
I cannot exactly.
But the idea, I just want to see that whether you can get the idea, as Mr. Rafi said. So can you just give me a little bit of it? Because I just want to see that whether you could listen and you could collect some information from there. So try to recall some of the info from the essay or from the report, please.
Sir, sorry, sir, I cannot express.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Thank you anyway. Thank you, Mr. Rafi. You tried it very well. So, but if I ask you some questions, will that be okay? Can you recall some information, Mr. Arshad?
Yes.
Okay, just tell me, what was the title? I mean, in your own word, what was the title?
Yes, COVID purpose.
It was about COVID.
Yes, yes.
What was it about actually? I mean, all these messages.
Yeah. 5 COVID hospital and government hospital and private 5 private hospital.
Okay, so 5 state-run hospitals, that means government hospitals, and 5
private hospitals.
Private hospitals. So they were collecting, or they collected data or information from 10 different hospitals. Right? Okay, that's great. So you were listening. You were listening. Mr. Atik, can you
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what do you think?
Yes, sir.
I mean, this text, what was it about?
It was about that a American journal scientists and Bangladesh ICTR, they are testing and collecting information about COVID and non-COVID purpose, and they are to collect information Dhaka, Chittagong, and Rajshahi, and they have been collecting information different public and private hospital that if they push the antibiotic,
Antibiotics, exactly.
Antibiotic if they have a DNA is stronger or less. And they also tested microbiology. If they found, they can decide it is going to working. And
Okay.
this data will help to to uh, help our patient to more better in future. For that purpose,
Okay.
they
Okay.
tested it.
Okay. So it was about antibiotics and the rampant use of antibiotics. That means, you see, if you just, I hope that I believe that you have noticed it, that if you go to pharmacy and if you just stay in front of a pharmacy for a few minutes, you can see that people are coming and they're asking for antibiotics without any prescription. So without, without consulting the doctors, people are buying antibiotics. And also pharmacists, they're also suggesting people or recommending people antibiotics. So, and if you take antibiotics in such a way, without the proper authorization from the doctors or without consulting the doctors in the proper way. So you may find that different kinds of antibiotics, actually, they have different kinds of effectiveness. But without knowing that, if you keep taking antibiotics in such a way, so maybe you will find that in future, those antibiotics will not work anymore. And those bacteria that actually we may have in future, or maybe still we have in our body, they get very stronger. So when you take antibiotics, antibiotics actually, they don't work properly. Understood? So that's why actually they're having this kind of, research in different COVID and non-COVID hospitals. So 5 hospitals, state-run hospitals, and 5 private hospitals. So you see, I was just testing your listening skill, and more or less, all of you active listeners. So you're trying to listen very actively. Okay. So this is the purpose of our, active listening, that we try to get information. You see, when you read a text, you have the text in front of you. So you have the chance to go back to that text again and again. So you can collect information. But when actually you listen, you don't have that opportunity to listen to that thing, because when we are done with the conversation, so you have to remember all those information in your head, and you have to recollect them, you have to recall them. So listening is very important. So today we are going to explore some of the techniques or strategies that how we can improve our listening power. Okay. All right. So well done. Well done. Thank you all, Mr. Atik, Mr. Arshad, and Mr. Rafi. You did very well. Okay.
And
let's see what we have now. So from this initial discussion, so if I ask you this question, what is active listening? What do you think? You can have your own definition. Mr. Arshad.
When speaker.
Okay, Mr. Atik, you want to go first? That's great. Please go ahead.
When speaker speaks something that we can to agree intention or concentrate the speech, I think that is listening.
Active listening. That is active listening, you think? Okay, great. Okay, Mr. Rafi, what do you think? What is active listening?
Active listening, I agree with Atik, Mr. Atik, that when we are having a conversation with someone and I am focused with him and my expressions are saying that I am listening to you, or that will be the active listening.
Okay, Mr. Arshad, do you have any, do you want to add anything with this definition? Yes, please.
Listener tell something, so we carefully listen and just express my opinion.
Okay, so you carefully listen and then you reply.
Yes.
You express your opinion accordingly. Okay, that's great. Well done. Well done. So let's see what you have. Now, if you just take a look at this, okay. Now here, let me tell you this. Just hold on a second. Okay, great. Now, let's take a look at this. Now, you see, in 1957, 2 American psychologists, Carl Rogers and Richard Farson coined the term active listening. So they first actually in 1957, you see, and so it's almost 70 or 75 years back. Actually, they introduced this very phrase, active listening, in a research paper and titled same. I mean, it has the same name, that is active listening. So in that paper, actually, they introduced this term, that is active listening. All right, so there may be many debates. It's debatable that what is active listening and what is not. And when we talk about active listening, then automatically, I mean, it comes to our mind that then there must be something called passive listening also. So when you're not active, certainly you are passive. So passive listening is a different thing. So, but today we are not going to talk about it, but we will focus on active listening. Then what is it? I collected it from New York Times, from that newspaper, from one of their articles. Okay, now here you see the idea about active listening. It says that active listening refers to a pattern of listening that keeps you engaged with your conversation partner in a positive way. So you said that you have to be very active, and then you have to listen carefully, and then you have to reply. You're right. So here is the definition, the same definition. You can see that engage with your conversation partner. For example, now I'm having conversation with Mr. Ershad or with Mr. Rafi. So you are my conversation partners, and I'm engaged in a positive way. Okay. So it is the process of listening attentively while someone else speaks, paraphrasing, and reflecting back what is said, and withholding judgment and advice. So you see, you have to paraphrase. So you see, just a while ago, all of you, I mean, actually, you are paraphrasing that text. You see, I read it to you. You listened to it carefully, very actively, and then you were paraphrasing the article that I read to you a while ago from the newspaper, the Daily Star. So, and also you're reflecting back, you're thinking about it, and you're not judging, you're just listening, and afterwards you were paraphrasing and you are giving me the main idea from the text. So withholding judgment and advice. So when we listen in the active listening, usually what you have to do, you cannot judge people, you cannot comment on directly. So stop judging, just listen. So that is active listening. That's one of the, you can say, prerequisites of active listening, that you have to withhold your judgment. So we will go back, we will discuss those things later. So just bear with me for a few more minutes. Now, so this is the thing, and this is called the foundation of any successful conversation. So active listening is the foundation of any successful conversation in your office or in your home, when you're having conversation with your family members, with your co-workers, with anyone else. So that is the foundation of successful conversation, active listening. Now the features of active listening. So what are the basic features? So now here, as you can see, these are the common features, most common features of active listening. First of all, you can see the neutral and non-judgmental. So you must be neutral and non-judgmental. Neutral means, that means you are not judging that person, the other speaker. Okay, so you keep yourself neutral. So you don't say it is positive or negative, you're for it or you're against it. So without any judgment. So you just have to listen. That is active listening. Then patient. That means periods of silence are not filled. So you have to be very much patient. So you have to listen to it very much patiently. Okay. Then verbal and non-verbal feedback to show signs of listening. So you see, verbal and non-verbal feedback to signs of listening. So sometimes you're smiling and you're nodding your heads, then you maintain the eye contact and you're leaning in, you show your eagerness that you want to listen to him. Okay, so does the other person, the other interlocutor or locutors, they will feel encouraged to to continue the conversation. And also mirroring, that means the reflection. So you reflect whatever actually he's saying. So on the phrase, through your facial expressions, through a smiling eye contact. So you have to maintain the non-verbal feedback. Okay. And also asking questions. For example, when you are listening, you listen, then you also ask questions. Oh, is that right? Is that true? Then what next? Then what happened? That means you show your eagerness that you want to learn more. That then the other persons that you're having conversation with, so he will find it very inspiring and he will feel inspired to talk more. Okay. Then reflecting back what is said. Okay. So you try to reflect back that what is said, that somebody said something, you think about it. Okay. Then you can have your opinion later. Asking for clarifications. If you don't understand anything, then you can say, pardon, excuse me, could you repeat that? Sorry, I didn't get it. Could you repeat that? So in this way, you ask for clarification and then summarizing. Okay. So when you listen, you summarize the whole conversation in your own mind. So you see, when I asked you after reading out the text, then I asked you, so you see, you can say that Mr. Rafi, he started, so when I asked him that, who can paraphrase? So Mr. Rafi actually he started first. He paraphrased the the passages that actually I read it to you, and then later on Mr. Arshad and also Mr. I think you also talked about it. So this is the thing. So do you have any question? So this is the features of active listening. Yes, yes, please go ahead.
I didn't get the thing of mirroring.
Okay, mirroring means, for example, when actually you are having conversation with someone, so at that point, mirroring means if I look at you, then I can get that actually whether you're feeling interested or not. You see, showing the right kind of empathy to the other persons who is actually having conversation with. Do you get my point, what I'm saying?
Yes,
So you're just like my mirror. So I'm talking to you, you're just like my mirror, so I can see. And also, you will also give me the same kind of feedback through your facial expression that, yes, I like your conversation. Go ahead, I understand it. It's interesting. I find it interesting. So in this way, so you are mirroring. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Anything else? Any other question? Okay, good. Now, when we talk about active listening, then definitely this question may pop up into your mind that, I mean, what are the purposes of active listening? So now if I directly go back to this slide, then what are the purposes of active listening? You can see the first one is being stuck in your own head. That means active listening means not engaging in unhelpful listening habits such as the following. So these are the following, listening habits, engaging in unhelpful listening habits. So we cannot have this. Okay, we have to avoid this. These are the don'ts. We cannot do it. If you really want to engage in an active listening. So being stuck in your own head. It happens sometimes that all the time we are thinking about ourselves, and I'm also prioritizing my own opinion in my head. So we cannot do that. So being stuck in your own head, don't do that. So don't only think about yourself, your own idea, your own opinion. So we cannot be that much opinionated. Okay. Then not showing respect for the speaker. So this is a very bad thing. So sometimes we are very disrespectful to the other speakers, even if it is not directly, but indirectly. For example, you're using your cell phone, you're looking, you're concentrating on your on the screen of your laptop, and you're not looking at the other speaker. So this is a way to show disrespect to the other person, other speakers. Only hearing superficial meaning, not hearing underlying meaning. So maybe the speaker actually he's giving you some information. So you're just superficially, you're just listening to him, but you're not trying to delve into the underlying meaning. So you're not trying to get the underlying meaning. Okay, so this is a very bad habit. You shouldn't do it. Then interrupting. So without sometimes we don't let the other speaker to finish their sentence. So before there, we just cut in unnecessarily, and we try to stop them, and we try to start talking. So you shouldn't do it. We should not interrupt the other speaker. Let them finish first. Okay. Then not making eye contact. So you're not looking at the other speaker. This is not a good thing, because if you don't make any eye contact, he or she might feel that you are not interested into you're not finding it interesting, or you don't want to continue the conversation. And rushing the speaker, you say, please complete it. I don't have time. Finish it quickly. Yeah, what next? So don't rush. Don't rush the other speaker. I mean, don't push them. Okay, this is not a good thing. So we shouldn't do it. And becoming distracted. So while you're having conversation, suddenly actually you are looking at the sky, or you're looking out through the window, and you're just browsing internet. You're just, I mean, fiddling with your pen, or maybe with your phone, or with something else. So we shouldn't do it. Okay, so you shouldn't get yourself distracted with other things. So listen to the other speaker carefully. All right, then also you can see topping the story, saying that reminds me of the time. So topping the story means, for example, somebody is saying you something, and then you stop him and then say, oh, it reminds me that thing, those things, and then you start, I mean, speaking of your own experience. Okay, so without listening to their experience, now you're talking about yourself, your experience. Now you're giving importance to yourself, so you shouldn't do it. All right, then forgetting what was said in the past. So somebody said something, and you forget the whole thing, and then say, oh, sorry, what did you say? So that means you're not listening to him carefully. So listen to the whole conversation. So in that, I mean, if you do so, I mean, you're not missing any point. So listen to it carefully. Then asking about unimportant details. Sometimes we say, we ask about unimportant details, which are not important. Because if you ask about unimportant details, what will happen that the speaker, he might forget the main details, or the important details, main issues. Okay, focusing too much on details and missing the big pictures. So you're focusing too much on details and you're missing the big picture. So stop listening to the, I mean, bit by bit, all the things. Try to get the big picture. So that will help you to understand the whole conversation, ignoring what you don't understand. So if you don't understand anything and you ignore. So sometimes it is advisable that you stop at a certain point. You can stop the other speaker, and then you can ask him the question. Sorry, I didn't get it. Could you repeat it? So this is the way. And also daydreaming. This is a very bad thing. You are listening, and at that time, I mean, you started remembering something else, and then you start daydreaming. You start thinking about something else, and then you miss the point. So it's not only about the conversation, it is also important for your, I mean, different kinds of exams, IELTS or Pearson test in English. So in this kind of, I mean, listening test, actually, it's very important to, I mean, keep your attention intact. Okay, so you have to pay attention, and you must be very serious. So there is no chance of daydreaming. If you do so, you will lose the point, you will miss the issues, you will miss the points, and certainly you're not going to answer the questions correctly. So even in the conversation, it is also important. Only pretending to pay attention. Sometimes you're not listening, but you're getting very pretentious. You're pretending that, yes, I'm listening to you, but actually you're not listening. It's not a good thing. We can't do that. So it must be very authentic, genuine. Be genuine. Okay. Don't fake it that you're listening. So if you fake it, you're not going to make it. So you will not be able to listen to, you're going to miss the point. So for sure. Okay. So what are the benefits of active listening? Here you can see the benefits of active listening, the relationships. This is the main thing. If you listen actively, you will be able to maintain good relationship with your companions, with your comrades, with your co-workers, with your family members, with your relatives, with everybody. So active listening has many benefits in your relationships. It allows you to understand the point of view of another person and respond with empathy. It also allows you to ask questions to make sure you understand what is being said. So you see what is being said, you understand it. Okay, so that is very important. Also, I mean, you'll be able to respond with empathy. You'll be able to understand, comprehend the point of view of another person. So it's very important. Finally, it validates the speaker and makes them want to speak longer. It's not hard to see how this type of listening would benefit relationships. I told you that when you listen actively, it will encourage the other speakers to continue their conversation for a longer period of time. But if you don't listen to them actively, so they will not find it interesting, and they will, stop the conversation sometimes very much abruptly. So we shouldn't do that. So for relationships, active listening is very important. And also for work, active listening at work is particularly important if you're in a supervisory position or interact with colleagues. So you see, in your office, it's very important. For example, all of you are you're working in different offices. For example, Mr. Rashad and also Mr. Atik. So you're working in different offices. So it's very important that you must listen very actively. I guess Mr. Rafi also, actually, you were working in an office. So here you see, supervisory position. That means you are in a position where you have to listen to your co-workers, your colleagues. If you don't listen to them properly, you may miss some points, and then accordingly you might not work properly. So this is very important, that especially in the working environment, that active listening is very important. Okay, active listening allows you to understand problems. So first of all, it will help you to understand problems, and also it will help you to collaborate, excuse me, collaborate with your colleagues, and thus you can find the solution. So for problem solving, active listening is very important. It's one of the valuable skills, you can say, in your workplace. And of course, in social situations, because we are social beings, we need to interact with different kinds of people in our society. So that's why in social situations, active listening will benefit you as you meet new people, like asking questions, seeking clarifications, and watching body language are all ways to learn more about the people whom you meet. So you see, in social situations, it's very important. You need to ask questions, you need to seek clarifications, you need to talk to people, you need to understand their body language. So for all these things, active listening is very important. So when you listen actively, the other person is also likely to speak to you for a longer time. This makes active listening one of the best ways to turn acquaintances into friends. This is very interesting. You see, those people who are very active listeners, they find it very easy to make friends, because when you're active listeners, then people will like you. So you turn yourself into a very likable person, okay? And then people will find it very easy to access you. And also you'll find that at the end of the day, maybe you are just you're just acquaintances, but later on, because of this habit of yours, you will make friends. You will become friends of those speakers. So in social situations, in workplace, and also, what was the first one? Also, if you really want to maintain good relationships, in these three cases, this active listening is very important. I hope that you will remember it. So do you have anything else to add with it, or anything that you want to communicate regarding these things, that the benefits of active listening? So what do you think in your, in your own way, so active listening, about it? Can you tell me something about it, please? Yes. Mr. Arshad. So what do you think? Active listening, is it important in your workplace, in your office? Or can you give me an example of active listening? How actually you were benefited in the past because of this, or Mr. Rafi or Mr. Atik, anyone? The benefit of active listening in your personal life, day-to-day life. So do you have any example? Can you give me any example from your work life? Is it possible? Or from your family life? Mr. Atik? Mr. Atik, can you hear me? Yes. Mr. Rashad, what do you think?
Yes.
Any example of active listening, that you listened very carefully and thus you were benefited? What do you think? Is it important in your office, active listening? How much is it important?
Yes, of course, it is very important for everybody.
Okay.
When colleagues tell me something, but we cannot guess it. Actually, we cannot answer properly.
All right.
So so it is very important for us, for me, to listen carefully and then answer properly.
Okay.
Maximum time we uh, 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 not carefully listen. That's why we cannot answer properly, and it
Okay.
is a great barrier for me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good to know that. Okay. And we'll try to fix it. We'll work on it, inshallah. No problem. Yeah, Mr. Rafi, do you want to add anything?
Basically, when I work, I am an engineer in a site or
Okay.
kind. So in money, so there is nothing in speaking English because
Hmm.
I work with the side workers, so I have to talk with them Bangla.
Okay.
But when I talk with my friends or discuss something
Hmm.
uh, in Bangla, that
Okay.
time it should be work very helpful because I am in poetry and the type of cultural thing.
Hmm.
So when I practice them with my friends or my co-workers, so
Okay.
this time some Bangla words are very difficult for us in
Okay.
poetry. So active listening in that time will
It's
very
very
help.
important so that you can
Important, yes,
understand it. You can
yes,
make out of it. Yeah. Okay. And that's also a very good example, especially when you're reading something from the any kind of literary text like poetry or essays, something like that. So, or maybe novels. So sometimes when somebody read it out to you, so you need to listen to them carefully so that you can understand them, right? Yes,
yeah.
that's a very good example. I mean, listening to poetry, very much. I mean, active listening is very important there. And also, Mr. Arshad said it very well that in office actually you must listen actively, otherwise you miss point and then you can make a blunder. Uh, there is a possibility of that. Yes, Mr. Atik, do you like to add
Yeah,
anything?
yeah. Actually, I have meeting every day 2 times
Okay,
with foreigners, and we have a meeting room, and in the middle they have a class that we can communicate.
okay,
And when speaker told, it is very important because if we miss any point or any words, I think
hmm,
it will be to uh, connected with another word. If I
hmm.
miss that word, then I can do it. So I think it is very important for us to when speaker can speak, then we can to hear it.
Actively or carefully. Yes.
Yeah,
So yeah,
carefully.
Mr. Atik, you told me that actually you have to work with foreigners because in your office you have many foreigners. I mean, so as co-workers, actually, you have got many foreigners. I think, Mr. Asha, sometimes you also have to deal with, I mean, foreigners, right?
No,
Foreigners, I mean, they come to your office,
uh,
and since you're in the non NGOs, I mean, or in the developmental, I mean,
but
in that sector, yes.
but very few in a year we have to face foreigner. But
Okay.
especially we need not to face foreigner, but other persons can meet them.
Okay. 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 So that means you don't have to face the foreigners in that sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
foreigner.
Okay.
Yes,
Get it. But
yes.
for Mr. Atik, I think it's there. So it's very relatable with Mr. Atik. Okay. Thank you very much for your feedback and for all these good examples of active listening. Okay. Now let's move on to the other segments. Now, so after this, now this is the main segment where actually I would like to ask you to, I mean, to take notice of all these things. There's a tips for practicing active listening, that how actually we can remain ourselves active while listening. So first thing you see, they just make eye contact. So while the other person speaks, you have to make eye contact because you see, aim for eye contact about 60% to 70% of the time while you are listening. So most of the time, the 60% to 70% that we have to make eye contact while listening. So lean toward the other person and nod your head occasionally, like the way actually I'm doing it now when I'm listening to you. So you need to nod your heads very much positively, of course. So and lean toward the other person, so they will feel encouraged to, continue the conversation. And paraphrase what has been said. So rather than offering unsolicited advice or opinions, sometimes the opinions or the advice actually it is not sought for. That means the other person you're having conversation with, he didn't ask for any advice or any opinions, but suddenly you cut in, you interrupt, and then you start giving him advice and opinions. So this is not, judicious to do that. So we shouldn't do it. We should avoid it. Okay. So rather paraphrase what has been said. So if you don't understand, or if you want to say, just paraphrase it. Okay. You might start this off by saying, in other words, what you are saying is, that means you are paraphrasing. For example, Mr. Atik, he said that he needs to have conversation with the foreigners in his office. So I can say, in other words, what you're saying is you need to talk to the foreigners. I mean, your foreign colleagues from the foreign countries. So see, I'm paraphrasing Mr. Atik's conversation. So I can do that, but I cannot jump into the conversation and then I start giving him advice or opinions. We shouldn't do it. Then don't interrupt while the other person is speaking. I have already mentioned it, that we shouldn't interrupt other persons while they're having their conversation. Let them finish first, okay? Then watch nonverbal behavior to pick up on hidden meaning in addition to listening to what is said. So you see, it is not only listening, it is also watching people's behavior, their body movement. This is also a kind of listening. Do you get me what I'm saying? Do you understand?
Sir. Yes,
I mean, watching people's behavior is also a kind of listening. Isn't it interesting? So watch people, okay, when they're having conversation with you. So this is also a kind of listening. So watch non-verbal behavior, facial expressions, eye contact, their gesture and posture, okay?
Artificial movement.
Not artificial movement, actually their physical movement, you can say body movement, okay? Their body movements, yes. Then shut down your internal dialogue while listening. This is one important thing. And rarely we can do that. Hardly we can do that. When somebody is saying something, they're having conversation with you and they're saying something, you can feel that in our brain, we are having another dialogue. Oh yeah, you're saying this. Okay, well, yeah, I could have done this in this way. So you're getting very judgmental. You're having your own opinion. You're having your own conversation within your brain when other person is talking to you. And when you do this, you judge people, and also you miss some points. Maybe you're missing some points because you're thinking in your brain too much. Your brain is working and it is thinking, and also it is constructing your own dialogue within your brain, and thus you miss the point that has been raised by the other person. Do you get me, Mr. Rashad? Do you understand what I'm saying? So stop having your own dialogue within your brain. Don't do it. Avoid daydreaming. Okay, we shouldn't do it. Rather, listen to him first and stop your internal voice. So this is not a good thing that all the time you're listening to your internal voice. So we shouldn't give it that much privilege. Rather, we should give privilege to the other speakers, their opinions. Okay, listen to them. All right, now show interest by asking questions to clarify what is said. So sometimes, for example, when actually I'm having conversation with you, sometimes I ask you questions. I interrupt you and then I say, oh, so what is this? So what do you say? So what's your opinion? In this way, actually, I'm showing interest that I want to listen to you. Okay, I'm willing to have this conversation with you. So show interest by asking questions to clarify what is said. So also, if you don't understand, if you need clarifications, then you ask the question to the, to ask questions to the other interlocutor. Okay, ask open-ended questions to encourage the speaker. Avoid close yes or no questions that tend to shut down the conversation. So this is very important. Open-ended question like WH questions. For example, so what was about it? So what did you say? Then what did you do then? So what was your opinion? So what were you thinking at that time? So you see, these things actually you cannot answer with yes or no. Can you answer this? For
No.
example, if I ask you, so what did you think? What did you think, or what were you thinking at that time, Mr. Rafi? So Mr. Rafi will not be able to say yes or no. He must explain it, right? You should give me information. So it encourages the other speaker to give me to give the other interlocutor more information. So ask these open-ended questions rather than close-ended questions. Okay. Then avoid abruptly changing the subject. It will appear that you were not listening to the other person. Sometimes somebody is saying something, the other person is saying something, and suddenly, what was that? And that means that is completely irrelevant. And that means that that person for the last 30 seconds or 1 minute, you are saying something and you are not listening to that stuff at all. Okay, so you avoid abruptly changing the subject. So don't change the subject. It means that you are not listening to him. So that is very disrespectful to the other speaker. Okay, we shouldn't do it. Be open, neutral, and withhold judgment while listening. Defer judgment. So time and again, I'm saying this to you, that you should defer judgment. Don't judge the people. Interrupting is a waste of time. Don't interrupt them. It frustrates the speaker and limits full understanding of the message. So you will not be able to understand the whole message if you interrupt them time and again. So allow the speaker to finish. Don't interrupt with counter arguments. So if you give counter arguments, so they will find it very disturbing. So they will feel annoyed and they will not give you any more information. So try to be neutral, be open, listen to them first, then you can have your, your part, your role, you can add or you can comment, you can have your own judgment. So while listening, so stop, judging the people, listen to them first, be patient while you listen. This is the thing, actually, most of us, we don't have it. We lack this thing, that is patience. Don't you think so? When we listen to other people, we don't have patience. We don't listen to them. And as a result, most of the time, actually, our conversation, most of the time, our conversation ends in misunderstanding, misconception. What do you think, Mr. Rafi?
Yes, sir.
We are impatient, right? We don't want to be patient while listening to somebody else. And it really creates some kind of awkward situation in some cases, and also misunderstanding between the interlocutors, between the speakers or among the speakers, right?
Yes, sir.
So we must be patient. Then learn to recognize active listening. So you see, we are talking about active listening, and then how can we recognize active listening? One good example, which has already been given by Mr. Rafi, that is listening to poetry recitation. Okay, so poetry recitation can help you to improve this active listening, because you have to listen to all the words, all the expressions, so that at the end of the recitation, you'll be able to comprehend the meaning, to grasp the meaning. Otherwise, you will lose the meaning. You might misinterpret the poem. Okay, so here is a watch television interviews, because television interviews are very full of information. Sometimes they're very intriguing, full of different kinds of information and data and statistics. Sometimes they're very philosophical, highly, you can say, theoretical, or some interviews, they're very much academic. So that's why you have to listen to these television interviews very carefully. Okay, so in this way, you can practice active listening. Okay, television interviews. We have lots of television interviews on different channels, so we can listen to those. And also on YouTube, you can find them. They're available on on YouTube or different other channels. Thousands or millions of interviews, you can find in those sources. Yeah. All right, and observe whether the interviewer is practicing active listening. Learn from the mistakes of others. So some other speakers, maybe they are committing mistakes. So learn from those, and then try to avoid those mistakes when actually you are having this listening stuff. Okay, thus actually you can practice active listening. All right, now I have said lots of things about this active listening. Now these are the big 6 active listening skills. So along with those 10 or more active listening tips, if I try to summarize the whole, And for your better understanding, so here actually, I collected it from these leading effectively articles from these websites. It's there. If you're interested, you can browse this website and you can learn from there. I mean, the details of these things, it's there, given there. So here you see from that website, actually it says that paying attention, withholding judgment, reflecting, that is mirroring, okay, reflecting, thinking about it, reflect, clarifying, summarizing, and sharing your own opinions at the end. So this is the thing. So these big 6 active listening skills, if you can activate these 6, so at the end of the day, you can prove yourself as an active listener. So you need to do this, okay? So here is the picture. So from this picture, we can just understand it very easily. So 6 key active listening skills. So I have collected it from Center for Creative Leadership from that source. So it has been collected. So source is there. You can also go to these. They have their own website, so you can go to the website and you can read it in detail. So you have to pay attention. You have to withhold your judgment. You have to reflect that what has been said, and then you have to clarify the things. You can ask questions if you need more clarification. Also, you have to summarize or paraphrase the whole conversation, and then you share your opinion, your ideas at the end of the conversation. Okay, so that's it. And here, these are the references from these websites. I have collected all this info. If you're interested, you can go to these websites and you can find more information about active listening. Now, I would like to open the floor for your questions. So if you have any questions. Do you have any questions?
Sir, I have one question.
Please, go ahead.
Sir, you are saying when about the active listening, that we have to be patient, we have to be moderate, and we should be reflecting.
Yes.
And the main thing. But my question is, when we are having a conversation and when we are listening about, like you are giving us a speech about everything.
Okay.
So sometimes we didn't understand all of the words meaning, or sometimes some words meaning, if we didn't understand, then the whole conversation or whole article will be missed out.
Okay. Okay.
So in this situation, what should we do?
All right. That's a good question. Thank you, Mr. Rafi. Now, Mr. Rafi, you see, when we have conversations, because we are talking about active listening and to become active listener, okay? And it's in our day-to-day life, in the office, in our social life, and also in our, I mean, in different other situations, right? But thing is that when we have conversation, for example, now I'm having a kind of conversation. It's between you and me, Mr. Rafi, and it's me. And I can also have conversation with Mr. Arshad. Also, you can have conversation with Mr. Arshad. So thing is that when we have conversation, we don't use that much difficult words. What do you think? But
Yes,
if
sir.
it is in the academic arena, then that's a different thing. For example, you're an architect. You are a civil engineer. So your text, you know it. So if there are difficult things, then you can ask the question to the, for example, if it is in the classroom situation, then you can ask question to your teachers, to your course instructors. So you can ask them the question. But when we have conversation in our office, most of the time it's your work related. So you know everything. So you're not going to face that kind of thing that you don't understand the words. Maybe the concept you don't understand. So you can ask the ask questions. That's why actually we have that part, clarification. Active listeners means when you are listening actively, and if you don't understand anything and you are asking questions, so it signifies that you are listening actively. That's why you're asking questions. Sorry, I didn't get it. Could you please clarify that? What does it mean? It means that you're listening to that person very much actively. If you don't ask any question and you just keep mum and you listen very reluctantly, passively, and you don't ask any question, that means maybe you're not interested in that kind of conversation and you didn't listen to anything at all. That's why you don't have any questions. So at the end of the conversation or at the end of the session, if the other speaker, if he or she says that, do you have any question? And if nobody asks, maybe all the listeners, maybe they're very intelligent, they're very wise, that's why they don't have any question. Or maybe nobody was listening, because in between is impossible. Because when we listen to any conversation or any kind of presentation, of course, there is something that maybe we don't understand. And at the end of the session, you see there are question and answer sessions. So we ask them, for example, now you're asking question. That means you were listening very actively and you didn't get one thing. So that's why you have asked that question, that what you should do if you understand the words or phrases or expressions. Okay? So this is the thing. I hope that answers your questions. Is that clear, Mr. Rafi?
Sir, I want to add another thing.
Please, please, please.
That was that you were saying when I mean academic purpose in, so this is the academic purpose, like you were when you were telling us about all of the things,
Yes, tips and tricks. Yes.
Yeah, you said that I you don't have, you should interrupt, but there's the word that abruptly.
Okay.
Abruptly.
Okay.
I didn't get the meaning. So when you are talking about the thing, when should I ask about the word, or when should I ask?
Okay. Okay, I understand it. So you're asking about the situation, that in what situation,
Yes,
at what point of time actually I should ask this question. For example, if it is an academic situation, there you can ask that, so, sir, sorry, if you don't mind, I didn't get the word. What is it? What does it mean abruptly? Or at the end of the conversation, the way you're asking now, this is the right thing, that at the end of the conversation, you're asking me, sir, from your today's lecture, I didn't understand one specific word, that is abruptly. Could you please tell me the meaning? For example, now I'm saying abruptly means suddenly, abruptly, suddenly. Like suddenly you stop someone, oh, what is that? Then that person actually, he will be startled. Okay, and he will find it very difficult to answer that question right then. So you have to understand the right time and the right situation when to ask the question. That is also one kind of a skill for conversation, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Thanks for all those questions. I think your questions also helped others to understand it. Okay. Mr. Ashad and Mr. Atik, do you have any questions or any opinions, anything that you want to say?
One thing, you know, we have a lack of vocabulary, and anybody, especially foreigner, speaks speedy. So most of the word we cannot just pick up.
So you have to guess.
Yes, just we don't guess what is she speaking, he or she is speaking.
So you find it difficult to understand the foreign.
To understand, yes.
Yeah, it's because of their accent, it's because of their pronunciation, it's because of their fluency, and it's their native tongue, their native language. So that's actually you find it difficult. So for example, for me, because of the practice for quite a long time, I'm listening to different speakers from different countries, mostly online, and also I had the experience of working with different foreign colleagues in especially in Saudi Arabia. When actually I was teaching in the King Khalid University, there actually I had colleagues from different parts of the world, from North America, from you can say from Europe, from different countries, from USA, from Canada, from UK, and also from South Africa, also from India, Bangladesh, of course, and also from Pakistan, and also from Sudan, from Saudi Arabia, and also from Egypt, from Tunisia. You see, from different parts of the world, and also from Yemen. So you see, I had colleagues from different parts of the world. So I had the exposure to different kinds of accents, different kinds of tune, different kinds of intonation, okay, different kinds of tone, different kinds of pronunciation, accents. So that's why actually, I mean, I feel that because of this exposure, I find it less stressful to understand the foreign speakers, as you said, Mr. Ashad. So from this example, you can understand it that also you have to have that kind of exposure. The more you listen to the speakers, to these kind of speakers, I mean the native speakers, the more actually you will get efficient to understand their accents, their pronunciations, and also you'll be able to catch up with their fluency. Do you get my point, Mr. Arshad? So it's all about practice. It's all about listening to those native speakers more and more and more. We have internet, we have access to internet, we have YouTube. You can watch English movies, you can watch different kinds of interviews. So you have access to millions or millions of stuff online. So keep listening, keep watching. It will help you to understand it. Trust me. If you keep practicing in this way, at least for 6 months at your stress, after 6 months, you will feel the difference. You'll find that your listening skill, it has improved immensely. Okay, and also your speaking will improve at the same time, because I told you that all these skills, this listening, speaking, reading, and writing, they're integrated. They are very much interconnected. So without the development of one, you cannot expect the development of another skill. So they're very much integrated, they're very much connected. Okay. All right. So I think.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. What is immensely?
Immensely means you can say effectively or hugely or profusely. Okay. That means in number it's many. Okay. Immensely.
Yeah.
It expresses the intensity. Intensity is huge. Okay. The intensity is very, very much huge. That is immensely. Yes. Okay. All right. So if you don't have any more questions, I think it was a long session. So I guess you are tired. Same here. I'm also feeling a little bit exhausted. So if you don't have, but still, if you have any comment or any opinion, you can have it. Do you want to say anything? Anything more?
I would thank Mr. Rafi that abruptly and two more word he can share with you, and for that reason we also know that this meaning has
okay. All right. So Mr. Atik wants to thank Mr. Rafi for asking those questions. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way of learning. Yeah. When you ask questions, that other people through those questions, they also learn. You see? Okay. Thank you.
One more thing.
Yes, please, Mr. Atik.
When I was in meeting that I am a daydreamer and I can judgment, then it can confuse me what actually I am doing.
Yeah, when you start judging people, and also when you start daydreaming, actually it confuses you, and you cannot concentrate, you feel distracted, and then you miss the point of the conversation. Yes, you're absolutely right, Mr. Atik. So we should avoid it. We must avoid it. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Thanks for your cooperation and thanks for your patience. You're a very active listener. You have proved it today that you are active listeners. From your questions, from your patience, and from your mindfulness, I can say that you're active listeners. So from next class, for consecutive, some of the classes, we will try to practice listening. So sometimes I'll read some of the text, sometimes I will collect different kinds of materials from different sources, and I will try to play it here so that we will practice all these things, the tips and tricks that we have talked about today. We'll try to implement those tips while listening, okay? All right? Okay. So from next class onwards, we'll practice active listening. So I hope you will remain very much active, okay? And then you'll keep practicing, all right? So, and we will become very much proficient speakers and also listeners as well. So let's practice and let's learn more. So thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your patience, and hope to see you next time, inshallah. So
thank you.
Please share today's class, sir.
Inshallah, I will do it. You don't have to tell me. I will do it. Okay. I'll do it as I did last time. I will do the same. Inshallah.
Thank you.
But thank you.
One more thing.
Yes, thanks for the reminder. Yes, Mr. Atik. Mr. Atik, please.
Yeah, I have wrote a report. If I could share it to the group, could you give a suggestion? It is correct
Feedback.
or
you want my feedback?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Please feel free to share the report, and I will give you the feedback.
Okay, I will send it right now.
No problem.
Thank
no
you,
problem. No problem. Thank you very much, Mr. Atik.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Atik, Mr. Rafi, and Mr. Arshad, and hope to see you next time. So stay safe. Assalamu alaikum and good night.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam. Take care.